What did Barry Gibb finally confess about Cliff Richard after decades of silence? Why did these two British music legends maintain such a mysterious distance despite mutual admiration? And what quiet rebellion did Barry say he always envied in Cliff's character? These questions have puzzled fans for generations, but now, at 79 years old, the last surviving Bee Gee has opened his heart to share the complete truth. Barry Gibb was born Barry Allen Crompton Gibb on September 1st, 1946, in Douglas, on the Isle of Man. As the second of 5 children in the musically gifted Gibb family, he grew up in a household where creativity flowed freely under the guidance of his parents, Hugh and Barbara Gibb. From his earliest years, Barry displayed an extraordinary gift for crafting songs that combined raw emotion with intricate structure, a talent that would define more than 6 decades of legendary music. When the Gibb family relocated first to Manchester, England, and later to Redcliffe, Queensland, Australia, Barry's musical ambitions intensified. Alongside his younger twin brothers, Maurice and Robin, he began the journey that would create one of music's most iconic groups. The formation of the Bee Gees in the late 1950s was nothing short of destiny, as the 3 brothers developed their signature harmonies and unique vocal blend in small Australian venues. Their meteoric rise began in the mid-1960s, when influential DJ Bill Gates and producer Robert Stigwood brought them to England. From tender ballads like To Love Somebody and Massachusetts, to groundbreaking disco anthems such as Staying Alive, Night Fever, and How Deep Is Your Love, Barry became the creative force behind a cultural revolution. His falsetto became iconic, his songwriting timeless, and his production techniques revolutionary. But here's the fascinating revelation. What made Barry truly respect Cliff Richard wasn't just his music. It was something far more profound. According to the source document, Barry has now revealed his deepest feelings about the British pop legend. Cliff was one of the first artists who made me believe that you could be decent and famous at the same time, Barry reflected, remembering their early encounters during the swinging 60s. At a time when many artists were caught up in fame's chaos, Cliff's poise, humility, and unwavering moral compass stood out remarkably. He never lost his faith, even when the business tried to break him. I respected that, Barry acknowledged. For Barry, who witnessed firsthand the temptations and tragedies of superstardom, including the devastating losses of his brother Andy in 1988, Maurice in 2003, and Robin in 2012, Cliff's steadiness represented something rare, a quiet rebellion against show business's darker side. Barry also credited Cliff with paving the way for British artists to achieve global success. When we were still trying to find our sound, Cliff had already conquered the charts. He showed us that you didn't have to be American to make it big. You could be from England or from anywhere, and the world would still listen, Barry explained. This acknowledgement carries special significance, as the Bee Gees themselves would later become global icons, helping define not just pop and disco music, but an entire cultural era. Here's where the story takes an intriguing turn. Despite their mutual respect, why did these two legends maintain such distance over the decades? Barry addressed this mystery with surprising honesty. We weren't the kind of friends who called each other every day, but whenever we met, there was always respect. Sometimes life just takes you in different directions, he admitted. The Bee Gees' explosive rise in the 1970s, with the record-breaking Saturday Night Fever soundtrack and countless hit productions for artists like Barbra Streisand, Diana Ross, and Kenny Rogers, and Dolly Parton, created a whirlwind that made personal relationships difficult to maintain. When you're on top of the world, you think you have time for everyone, but fame moves faster than friendship, Barry reflected with the wisdom of experience. Throughout his career, Barry achieved extraordinary success beyond the Bee Gees. He wrote and produced Guilty for Barbra Streisand, Chain Reaction for Diana Ross, and the legendary Islands in the Stream for Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton. His ability to adapt to changing musical trends while maintaining emotional authenticity made him one of music history's most versatile figures. Yet despite all this success, Barry never forgot what Cliff represented. What I've always admired most about Cliff is that he stayed true to himself. He didn't follow trends, he made his own. Even when the world mocked him for being clean-cut or religious, he stood tall. "That takes courage," Barry declared, his words carrying the weight of someone who understood the cost of authenticity in an industry built on image and reinvention. And now, the most touching revelation of all: what bond of survival unites these two musical giants? In a particularly emotional moment, Barry reflected on the shared experience that connects artists of their generation. "We've both seen friends go too soon. Maurice, Robin, Andy, all my brothers. They were my life. And Cliff has lost people too. When you've been in this business as long as we have, you realize that just surviving it is a miracle," he said, his voice filled with quiet melancholy. "Cliff's still here, still singing, still smiling. That's strength. That's faith in motion." This sense of kinship runs deeper than mere professional respect. We're both from an era where music came from the heart, not the machine. What I love about Cliff is that he still believes in melody, in lyrics that mean something. That's rare today, Barry explained. He revealed that the two occasionally exchanged notes of encouragement over the years, and seeing Cliff continue to tour inspired him to keep performing even after losing his brothers. Barry's personal life provided the stability necessary to endure such heartbreak. His marriage to Linda Gray in 1970, the same year his first marriage to Maureen Bates ended, became the foundation of his survival. Linda, a former Miss Edinburgh and Scottish beauty queen, became his emotional anchor through decades of triumph and tragedy. Together, they raised 5 children: Stephen, Ashley, Travis, Michael, and Alexandra. "Linda is my rock," Barry has often said, crediting her unwavering love with keeping him grounded through fame's darkest temptations. Barry's legacy includes induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and being knighted by Queen Elizabeth II in 2018 for his services to music and charity. As one of the few artists to have written or co-written 16 #1 hits in the United States, his influence spans generations and genres. Barry Gibb speaks not as a superstar chasing headlines, but as a survivor paying tribute to a peer who shares his rare understanding of fame's highs and lows. His revelation wasn't about controversy, it was about gratitude, a heartfelt acknowledgement of one legend to another, born from decades of silent respect. Behind the bright lights exists a quiet fraternity of artists who endured, evolved, and remained true to their hearts. For Barry Gibb, telling the truth about Cliff Richard was an act of love, respect, and timeless appreciation for a man who, like him, never stopped believing in music's power.